Hello and welcome to episode 13, the Baker's Dozen episode of the Western Bulldogs podcast, Barclay Street, with your two hosts, one former hack, Robert Murphy, and the current stallion skipper, victorious skipper, first time victorious skipper, I suppose, and a very relieved Marcus Bontempelli on the Barclay Street. Marcus, how are you feeling, mate?
Bobby, mate, you're too hard on yourself sometimes on those intros. I reckon you're just a cut above a hack, I reckon. So you got to be a bit more generous. Sometimes you go too far, where it's too you indulge too much in what was potentially.
So not
but
hacks, just like
yeah,
a bit.
yeah. What are that? Yeah, exactly. Just a bit serviceable. Maybe that's the
There we
word.
go. I'll take that.
Mate, feeling good. Clearly, like you mentioned, first win for the club this season. Feels like it's been, months, which it technically has been when you consider round one through to now.
Yeah. That's not an illusion.
Exactly. We've had to wait a little while, and we've had obviously opportunities with the two games beforehand, but just haven't been able to get our best stuff out there for really much time at all. So it definitely feels, like you said, a bit of relief, but the joy I think we got and the moments after the game of our first win, and especially as a skipper, were certainly ones that I rank up there as my experiences and memories as a footballer.
What was your week like? Because it was, you've played long enough now to kind of experience a lot of the ups and downs of footy, but last week looked to have a fairly sharp edge to it. The team, under a lot of focus, a lot of criticism from the media. The coach was in the gun from certain sections of the media, and even yourself. There was a lot of talk about you and how you were going to respond against the Giants. What's that experience actually like when you're living through it?
Yeah, it was. It's definitely challenging. There's no hiding the fact that you certainly feel some of it. As good as we are at moving on, and then being able to deal with the pressure and the ongoing nature of football, whether things are going well but also not going so well, and especially as a skipper, like it throws another dynamic to it. And I think ultimately,
did it feel like an extra layer being captain?
Well, a little bit, because you feel somewhat responsible, definitely not just from a playing perspective, but in terms of the whole group and how the football club's being, obviously how we're being played out in the public sort of domain. And you understand it. I think and you know generally what's going on. I've got a number of different sort of media commitments that sort of you need to do. So I'm aware of what things may be discussed, and that gives you a good understanding of how things are evolving outside of the four walls. But
are you watching and listening to any of it, or are you sort of
not really. I think you learn, and I've learned this over the time, that it's more of a thing to go by, is that things are never as good as they seem, but they're also never as bad as they seem. And that's always sort of helped me to keep a level sort of mind with, even when things are going well, there's still things that you can be doing better. And when things aren't going as well as you like, well, they certainly could be worse. And it's just that mentality of staying balanced with, especially all the conversations I'm having with coaches, with players, with the group around continue to stay, I guess, united, obviously, but understand that, it's, 2 weeks of football that we can quickly change. And you talk about the week being a shorter week. Well, that definitely helps from a mental perspective, because you know that our next game was 5 days away virtually after the St Kilda game. Yeah.
Do you reckon that helps? Because I often wonder that when you've had a bad week, because it was complicated, because we have the disaster in round one, big layoff, St Kilda, too good for us on the night. And then a short turnaround. Do you reckon that was almost a blessing, though, the short turnaround, so you can deal with it and quickly focus on the job?
It certainly helps. It certainly helps, rather than, if you think of another couple of days, what that does, not just for your appetite, but the knowing that you've got another chance coming up really soon in the back of your mind is great, I think. And we were able to still review the, obviously, St Kilda game in, I think, all its sort of essence with regard to the things that we didn't do well. We played one decent quarter of football. Probably felt like we still should have been maybe in front, but a little bit more ahead. And the thing we probably struggled with was probably ball movement. Like, it felt like our effort and intensity was still there. We just struggled to move the ball well enough. And then St Kilda's a great sort of turnover side because they've got some quick players and they scored heavily off the back of them. So I think we sort of looked at that as an opportunity. If our maintain our sort of pressure around the ball, if we can continue to make more out of our ball movement, then things look a bit different. And you always got to look at the opportunities and where you can improve those things. But back to your original point, just knowing that you've got another game in a short period of time just helps you reset yourself to know that, all right, it's a quick turnaround. We can sort of, basically prove and get back to the things we want to really quickly.
Yeah. It was another chapter in the novel of this rivalry between the Giants and the Bulldogs, a rivalry that goes back a lot further than a lot of people realise, I think. And a few spot fires broke out. There was a nice little melee or fracas there at one point. We'll get to that in a sec. But talk to me about the toss of the coin. Traditionally, the two captains meet in the centre of the ground to toss the coin, but you had an old nemesis of yours in Nick Haynes to toss the coin, and not Stephen Cornelio. What's the story there?
Yeah, I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't. I probably maybe should have. But I didn't really pick up on it going in there. I just assumed maybe it was a milestone game or something like that. And so I, exactly, headed in there just with all intentions, just to toss the coin and obviously work out which direction we were going to. But upon obviously getting in there, the coin sort of flipped, and then most of my thinking was around, all right, you've obviously captained the football club about, what am I going to say to the boys? So sometimes I sort of go in there, I'm present, but in the back of my mind, I'm sort of like, how do I address the lads? Yeah. So I didn't really pick up on it, which maybe was a good thing in the end, because I ended up walking back, and after the game, they asked me about it, and that's probably when I sort of jeered and went, oh yeah, there must have been, whether it was just something they were doing, I don't know. It's something they share around potentially, but it didn't really click for me until probably after the game. In terms of, it probably wasn't his milestone, but it sort of became another side note, probably to the like you said, the rivalry and the story. But clearly, the game is where sort of my focus and the whole team's focus was at. We managed to obviously do some of the things that we sort of planned to do really well, and just play the game and basically focus all our attention on the footy and the game.
What was it like out there? It looked to me like the most intense game of the restarted season so far. Just was fast and physical and sort of chaotic. Is that how it felt out there?
Yeah, it did. Like for us, there's probably some things that you always, when we play well and do things well, there's some sort of obvious sort of signs or things you can pick up on, and one of them's that sort of pressure of our sort of working in numbers, and sort of that pack mentality that we're there to help pressure basically the ball carrier, pounce on the turnover, and then take it away pretty quickly. But across all lines, there was just this connectedness that we probably haven't had for near enough or long enough at all in our first sort of couple of games. And our forward line were incredibly good at just being able to create a contest when it came in and keep the ball there, score off opportunities. We could still do that better. There's still ones we're probably missing out on, but for a large part, they just competed for the whole game. From a midfield perspective, that pressure and being able to work together and help support each other. And then down back, they continued to do the same things, just compete, drop off and help each other. And there was just this real connectedness. You just felt like we were in a, playing together, which is something that makes playing the game a whole lot easier, that's for sure.
We're going to get the chance to speak to him in a couple of minutes. That is, of course, the great Tom Liberatore. But what was it like for you as skipper to have Tom back in the side? He's got a certain presence about him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he definitely does. Sorry, phone's going off. He definitely does, Tom. He just has that, like you said, presence, feel. He's determined. You know what you're going to get from him. That confidence, I think, is something that you look forward to playing with, that you've got someone as caring and as supportive and as willingness to go outside of his own game to help others better or help the team improve and play well. And that knowingness, like there's certain players, and we've probably discussed this with a number of players over the journey, that you just feel give you that sense of confidence and belief by playing around, and he's one that's probably at the top of the list when it comes to those types of players. So to have him back out there, not just for us but for him too, like you always think about how it's going to benefit others when you talk about Tom, but when you consider the challenges he's faced, the injuries, the rehab, he just, for his own personal sort of career and his own belief and own I guess what he deserves to be back out there through all that he's been through, for him to get that and bring it in such a big game was just awesome. So I love playing with Tom and cherish sort of every game I get to play with him.
Well, it was nice to see him back out on the field. We haven't had him on the field or on the podcast for a little while. So I'm looking forward to getting him back on here. So we'll have a quick break. I know that was a pretty quick little segment. We just want to maximise our time with T-Bone, Tom Liberatore. So we'll have a quick break and we'll be back right after this with the great man himself. Welcome back to the Western Bulldogs podcast, Barclay Street. And with no further ado, we welcome back the most popular man in Western Bulldogs podcasting history, and that is T-Bone, Tom Liberatore. Tom, how are you, man? Welcome.
Buongiorno. I'm very good, mate.
Yes.
Very good. Good to be here. Always a pleasure. Never a chore.
Nice to hear that voice of yours.
Payazan. We love having on some Payazans.
Yeah.
Hey, how you feeling? Good to be back?
Yes. Feeling very good. Feeling relieved, probably, to get through the game. To be playing again. And, pretty amped as well after what happened on the weekend, and pretty excited about what we can do going forward too. So
fair game to come back into. So we've lost a couple in a row. You haven't played for a while. Old rivals, and I was saying to Bont before, I reckon that's probably the most intense game I've seen this footy season. So you went straight back into the fire.
Well, that's what I love doing best, Bob. You know that. That's how I was raised. So. It was suited me perfectly. So it was good to jump straight back into that.
How'd the knee pull up?
Pretty good. I think having the shorter game definitely helped. And we've been doing sessions that are larger anyway from a training point of view. So pulled up pretty well. Short break might, it might affect it, but as of now, I've got the extra support I've needed. So it's going all right. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Hey, there's a lot to talk about, and I'll let Marcus take over in a sec, but I do want to spend a little bit of time on the, there was a bit of a Donnybrook, what they used to call a bit of a Donnybrook. So my rating system is that a melee is, it's like a bunch of people waiting for a bus. It's really not much, but there's a big sort of gathering, and then there's a fracas. Now, a fracas is different. A fracas is when maybe no punches are thrown and no reports are laid, but at any moment things could just kick right off, where there's real feeling and emotion in it. And then there's a brawl. I reckon this was a fracas, just on 3/4 time. And you two were kind of around the area, but talk us through sort of how all that unfolded and how it finished up, the ball in your hands, Tom.
Well, I was watching Bont, watching the umpire, and he was watching Jimmy watching the ball hand. And, I got the free kick initially. Caniglio was actually watching me, so I was watching Caniglio.
Yeah, you were the ball hand.
I was the ball hand. He had his back turned to me the whole time. So I knew the free kick was coming. So I got in the move, whatever, and then he decided to give me a WWE chokehold. So I got that free kick, and then yeah, without even, I hadn't even got to my feet yet, and I'd sort of look up, and it was fracas. It was fracas.
It was intense. Like we were chatting just briefly before. Like obviously there was a fair bit going on. There's a lot of players involved, and it was almost like the free kick, like quickly was like secondary. It was like, right, here we are. Everyone's got a jumper, or everyone's got a handful of something. And then you sort of said you got to your feet, and then you sort of went to put the ball down or something because you wanted to get a little bit more involved.
Yeah, my knees got a bit shaky. I was like, this is Christmas. Like it was a lot going on. Because I felt as if there was something it was my free kick, so I felt like they were sticking up for something that had happened with me, and I was like, oh, so you just have to join in. But then the umpire, I went to put the ball down, and he told me to stop and take my kick.
Did you put the ball down in it? Did you put it down in a ceremonial way, like the bow before a battle? You picked the ball up and went,
yeah.
Thou shalt put the ball down whilst I attend to business.
Yeah, put it down slowly. Step away from the ball. I was sort of cradling it like it was the Holy Grail, which it is, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so, nice.
You almost just knew what was going to happen then too. Like it was almost like, all right, if you go back and kick this, it was like, and round 2.
yeah. And then Jado was yelling at me to take the kick from the sideline.
Jaden, resident property steward. Yep.
Yes. Our
spiritual leader of Western Bulldogs, Jaden Shane.
Yeah.
So I ran back because I thought the time clock was still a thing.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd done the 30 seconds. So that's why I rushed back, and then Mitch was like taking time. So I was settled, and rest is history.
Went back
very trusty left foot, that one. Very.
Then Heater went again after the goal got kicked. The boys were going home. The boys got on the bus and they were done. The melee was over.
He's solar powered, Heath.
Yeah, he's kept going. I think Jado probably pushed his buttons a bit too.
Yeah, right. What else is news, man? How's little Oscar doing? How's little Bub?
That's what we want to know.
He's pretty good. Can you get some screen time? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, give us a look.
This is Barclays Street.
Doing some touch. You got him doing some touch. He's got a footy in the hand.
Going. Oh, he's just doing bicep curls in front of me. Right?
Doing some edits, watching some vision.
Like an episode
Yeah.
of Crib,
That could be something. We'll write that down for our next guest. Walk us through your house.
Kennels.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
Yep. There we go, buddy.
Oh, look at that face.
Have a look at him.
Paysan.
He's a natural. Yep. Loves the big screen.
Oh, there he goes.
There we go.
You gorgeous little bugger.
How have you been going with it, mate? Young dad. You got a little one. How's it been? Has it been, I speak to a lot of the boys who have got little ones, and they talk about how nice, sometimes a distraction it can be, but just to spend time together, especially throughout the week and the days and months.
Yeah. It's been unreal, mate. Like obviously it's humbling and great to have the time with him. But to actually have that, like, is another thing. Like, to see him, he's about 5 months now. So,
yep.
Wow.
He's just starting out, like, he's actually giggling properly and, like, giving him those little moments, like, just sitting down. And last night we watched the soccer's back on in England, just sitting there watching that. It is hard, like, no, don't get me wrong, as you know, Bob.
Yep.
It's bloody hard, but, ever so rewarding.
I love the way you say that the soccer's back on. Like Oscar is a fella. So Oscar's happy that we get to watch.
Yeah.
He's taking it all in. He's there going, lose.
Yeah, he's tapping on the shoulders. He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, because there's probably another cool, like, evolution of the Bulldog sort of royalty family connection with Mitchie Wall and Emily Wallace, who just had their young Charlotte Rose earlier I think it was last night actually. So that's pretty cool too, considering obviously you and Mitch and your dads obviously played together and you grew up somewhat together. But I guess now you've both got bubs together that are only 5 months apart. That must be pretty cool too, mate.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's the world works in amazing ways, isn't it? I don't I like to think you try to copy me, but as always.
You were just 5 months ahead of him. 5 months ahead.
Yeah, just got him. No, but that was pretty special. That was only a couple of hours ago. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Little Charlotte. So,
what's the little fella's temperament like, Tom? Has he got a bit of toot about him? Is he spirited?
He is. He's very happy. He's a pretty happy little fellow. He's pretty alert. He's got his head up. He's rolling around like he can hold up his neck pretty well, and he's always smiling when he's giving to other people. And I don't know if you can sort of get into him here, but he's a really happy baby. It's good.
Look at those. They're very pinchable cheeks, Tom.
Yeah, they're thick, aren't they?
They're nice. But far be it from the Irishman. Far be it for the Irishman to sort of project what the Italians do, but you guys from way back.
Yeah, plenty of that going on.
I'm partly Irish too, Bob. So I've got
That's true. That's true. You are like gnocchi. We've said that before. You are like gnocchi. It's a nice split, pasta and potato.
Just little robust.
That's nice.
Little potato meatball.
Hey, it looks like you got your hands full, mate, but it's a beautiful thing to watch. I know all the Bulldog supporters, we love seeing you, love hearing you on this podcast, but even more than that, we love seeing you back out on the field, terrorising the opposition, mate. And I don't know how many touches you had the other night. It's kind of arbitrary because every one of us can see how much you bring to the team more than kicks and handballs. So much love to you, friend, and of course the little Oscar. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you down the road.
You too, Bob. All the best to the Murphys, and thanks for having me on. See you tomorrow, Bont. Cheers.
See you then, Libba.
Catch you, Marcus.